Welcome back to the Duel Lines podcast with your host Alicia Solomon and myself, Megan Hines, where every week we talk the challenge. And we're back after a little bit of a break. Last week was the MTV VMAs, so there was no episode last week, but we're back to talk episode 5 of the Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras, where this week it was a lot of pump fakes, a lot of jabs back and forth, and some upsets happened this episode too. And I was shocked, but Tina was not shocked at what happened at the end of the episode.
Tina is insane, but I thoroughly enjoyed her this episode from the daily challenge up until the last time we saw her, which was in the arena. So I enjoyed Tina this week.
Yeah, she was a character. As a refresher, the targets for this week were CT and Tina, Nehemiah and Emily, Devin and Tori, and Kylan and Olivia. And this is obviously because Jenny and Derek named them as the targets and they're back in the house. CT volunteered to be a target because he wanted to fall on a sword and try and keep Arrow One afloat. But when you kind of put yourself a target and you lose, 50 chance you're going to go in and leave. Um, when the targets were announced, Olivia also was skeptical because she said to Josh in their Era 4 group meeting that she lost trust in him for not volunteering to be target when they literally had a conversation prior to the pick. And he said he volunteered to go in, and he was just quiet. And Kylan had to be the one to be picked by Jenny instead. For Kylan, that was strike one. Olivia didn't want to play with people who were playing scared, i.e., and Josh, because Josh mentioned that there's rumblings around that people are volunteering, and once he heard CT's volunteering go in, he was like, I'm gonna take a step back. And I'm like, was that necessary to even do that?
I mean, Josh came and told us really unprovoked that he wanted to be a new player. He was lost a lot of weight. He's mentally, physically, and ready to be back on the show. And then, given the opportunity, you had all of this talk last week with your team about putting yourself in. And when you had the chance, you decided not to because CT was going to go in. It's not matching up your actions and your words. I never believe what Josh says to begin with, but this just cemented that for me. And I'm not mad at Olivia for not wanting to stand with Josh in this situation anymore and being like, what's your problem? Because it was really unprovoked for you to want to nominate yourself and then you double down after the fact because you find out CT is going in. I just think that's utter bullshit from Josh, but I wouldn't expect anything less from him. So
Yeah, because I was like, of all people, I get that man got you a tizzy. But like you said, that man came back in shape in a new night mindset. You should be wanting to go up against that man who is a legend in the game, no matter what it is. And there might be a chance you might even be even going to the nation. Like, you never know in this game, and you never know who will win. So it's like, you did that all for nothing. Also, Emily did volunteer herself to go in as a target, and she wanted to be able to kind of take control of her fate with being a target. So we saw how that happened this episode. But a lot of people volunteering because they wanted to give people a chance to be a target is a good thing in theory, but also bad, i.e., in Jonna, because throughout this episode, it's her time to volunteer to be a target for her era. At the end of it, and she's like, I don't think I want to do that. I want to play my own game. I'm like, everybody else is a target. Like, it don't matter. You're gonna be a target at any point at any time.
Jonna, for the past couple of seasons, hasn't made sense anyway. We've seen how she's been a selfish player, and this is no different. Like everyone else on your team has already been a target. So you're up next. Like the numbers just say you're up next. Unless you have somebody down there who does not like you and picks you twice, i.e. Laurel, like that's just what it is. You're going to be a target. So I mean, John ain't just trying to hide like she typically does to skate on. And that's not how this is gonna work. If you're trying to skate and be in the background, then you need to step up at some point at least put yourself out there so then eventually if your time comes back around, then you can hide. But the initial trying to not be an elimination is just not going to work for this cast of people.
Especially the people that's on her team. Because, like, everybody went in, she was a target, she won, she's good, she's been in animation unprovoked, but she was a target, now the target. This week it's Tori's turn, and now it's gonna be yours next week. So, gotta deal with the cards you're dealt. Also, with Nehemiah being a target this week, he was aiming to try and work with Devin and Tori in the middle of the episode in the chamber. That kind of backfired because he was really trying to find a middle ground with them to like keep him safe because they at this point they didn't know what was going to happen. But he was like, me and Emily have not been here for 10 years, and like trying to figure out how to work with Devin and Tori, of all people, for one, he thought will work in his favor.
I'm not sure if he's just used to working with Wes and he thought Devin was of the same ilk, but Devin is a little different in his calculating self and how he operates. And also, Nehemiah just messed up. Like, just plain and simple. You approached Devin with a deal that was not the case, and now you have to you lied about it to Carlin, you lied about it in the deliberation. It's like you put yourself in a situation that's not gonna help you because obviously Devin went to Kylan and approached him after the fact. And so it's really Nehemiah against Devin. And then throwing Emily on top of that, it's not helping because Emily was like, I wasn't even in a room with this happening. So it just didn't make any sense. Nehemiah really put it on himself in that situation. So I really have no sympathy for that.
Yeah, and that was just bad. And then we got a mention of the Vacation Alliance because like we all know like Vacation Alliance is an overarching group within the house. Josh fixed his lips to say that people were jealous that they were dominating. You're the only person in that Vacation Alliance that has not won anything, so you can be quiet. You're just there by proxy. And Tori admitted that they are a thing. Which they're trying to like to not really say anything, but it is a thing, and it's obviously spread through the last two eras in Josh, Tori, Devin, and Casey. Olivia by proxy, but not really. But that's also a factor that we've already known, and they finally made claim to it this episode. But I'm like, we already knew this, but thanks for letting us know, anyways.
Yeah, I thought it's a weird behind the scenes of them being open about what's going on social media because that name was made up by one of the people who does the spoilers and who has a connection with somebody on production in the cast. Like this person is on the ins and outs. So they're the one who made up the name, and I mean, it took a life of its own. We all use it. If you're watching the challenge and you're active on social media, you know this exists. So I thought it was interesting that Josh even brought it up on the show and them trying to deny it or debunk it. No one's jealous of anything, Josh. We can give a shit less. You like, let me not even go in, but we don't care.
At the end of the day, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, we do not care. So we go to the daily challenge, and it is called Fast Path. And each era has to carry and navigate a wishbone pole to sandbags within the woods and bring them back to their stations to balance a beam. And the first group to get all their bags to their beam and have it balanced will win this daily, and their targets will be safe. And the leaders for Era 1 were the targets themselves in CT and Tina because they are good leaders to a pulp. Like they have different styles that don't mesh well, and we saw it play out in this daily. Because at the end of it, they were yelling at each other. There was no good direction, and that was their downfall of Era 1.
Era one was a old hot ass mess in this challenge, and they have been for most of the season, to be honest. But I think this really kind of put it on Front Street how much of a mess that they are. And it's not to say that they don't have an open line of communication with one another, because they do, but they're just all screaming and don't hear each other. And I think specifically for Tina, who's someone who's outspoken, very loud, wants to be in your face and wants to be heard, she was trying to give some input. She has the right to. I mean, she's on this team, but it also doesn't help when the input doesn't help the team. And so now you're trying to battle with, you want everyone to be heard and everyone should have a voice, but we're all trying to figure this out to win. And they just never gave themselves a chance, to be honest. Like, it just really went down bad really quickly. And even just the people on the team, like Duel had a bad back, so it wasn't really helping that he had to lift up this thing. They're trying to make excuses, not excuses, but they're trying to help everyone who has an ailment or something going on, and it's not really helping. So they were doomed from the start. I'm not surprised that they were last place and they didn't even get a chance to complete this challenge. I think Era 4, obviously they're younger, they're fresher, they do this consistently for the past 2 to 3 seasons at least. So they have a little bit more, um they're younger. Like, I wouldn't expect them anything less. Like, Era 1 is nostalgic. Era 1, yes, they have experience and they should be doing well, but again, they're older and it's just a hot mess between all of them. So Era 4 being that team that took really the lead in terms of their communication, how they went about it, just moving. Like, you didn't really hear much from Era 4 in this whole challenge. Like, they really just went from point A to point B back and forth, and that was it. And really the only teams that had such a problem were Era 1 and Era 3 also, because uh Tori and Jordan were going back at it, and everyone needed a minute, and this person and that person. So it was really difficult for them communicating, just because they have history, it's a lot going on, and they're trying to win. And if Era 1 did not be there and be completely last, Era 3 would have been completely last. So I think that's also an interesting dynamic. With Era 2, I mean, they have all the right pieces, but with Laurel literally throwing the challenge, and this is now the second time that we've gone into people throwing the challenges, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, we're going to get into Laurel later with her argument with Cara, but you really have no reason to throw the challenge just because you do not like Emily. You're literally weakening your team to the point where it's not going to help you. Like, you need the team to get to the final. You need the team to get to at least the next part of this challenge. We don't know how this is going to end up after the teams dissolve, or because teams literally are just dropping like flies. So it's like, you don't even know how this is going to play out, and for you to even try to throw the challenge just because you do not like Emily and you don't want to see her succeed, that's all part of Laurel's miserable, crazy plan in her mind. But I just think that's insane for her to even do that now. Because why would you even throw a challenge just because you don't like Emily? Like, your team is getting weaker, and you're just like, you know what, fuck it. If the ship is gonna go down, throw that bitch in too. It's just like, why would you do that?
It was just so weird. So I'm like, we're only in week 5. Not that many people have left aside from like the people who left an invitational, but it's like it's still early. You still have to get team wins. You can't do everything by yourself before you get to the part where it will be individual. You can't just do that. You can't rely on old man bananas. I'm sorry, you cannot. You can't just rely on Cara, even though you don't like that lady. Ryan and Derek are just there. And Nehemiah, I'm sorry, they are. They're great, they're smart, and they have the tools. But as a unit on the women's side, trying to get out another strong woman at this point in the game when it's still early is bad planning. Because why would, like you said, why would you do that? Like, I get you don't like that lady, but you have to figure out how to coexist with her for the time being. But Laurel can't do that. Like, we see it. Like, we've seen it last season. We see it so far this season. She cannot coexist with the women on her team. And that's the downfall of her and her challenge career thus far, and also the last 2 seasons. But that's neither here nor there. But in the sense of this game and where we are right now, doing that this early is not great. But that's just a testament of who Laurel is. And Nehemiah is like, we just trying to get this done, and she's just standing there. I'm like, She just sitting there like Summer Walker. And I was like, you can't be doing that. You too old to be doing this. You must be big and bad and be one of the strongest people in here, but you're not contributing to help your team win. That's not being a team player. On Era 3, it was just funny because, like you said, like Jordan and Tori have history, and that man was just yelling at everybody on their team to get it together. And he was like, it's my way or the highway. It didn't really work as well until they got to the point where they got to the beam and they were actually able to finish aside from Era 1. But that was just hilarious to see like them going back and forth because we know the history, but it's like trying to figure out how to work with your ex. Who wants to do that? Not I.
I don't wish you well, actually. So
uh so Era 4, they were in the lead mostly the whole time. Era 2 and 3 tried to keep up, but they just managed to fall short a bit. Era 2 got second, Era 3 got third, and obviously Era 1 finished last, which means that now Kylan and Olivia are the only safe targets of the week. And now we have to see Nehemiah and Emily and Tori and Devin try to appeal to them to not go into the arena against TT and Tina. Also, in TT and Tina's fight at the end of the challenge, that had me cracking up because when they're going back and forth, when Tina said "Baba weave, bitch," I was like, Tina, please. I had to like take a moment and laugh because they really go back and forth like siblings, and I was like, I love the energy, but I'm like, damn, like that's just how it is with them. It's just funny.
yeah, eh, they're a little bit more healthy arguing. Like other teams, they're arguing it stems from lovers and scorned and all that other stuff. This is literally just them being a family and they having their little difficulties in communication. But Tina definitely, she was just the star of the show this week. Like she just had all the quotables. She wasn't backing down, and I can respect it because sometimes Tina can be a little much. But this week, I really like Tina.
She channeled her I don't want to say insanity, but it was insanity a little bit. She channeled it very well. It was very measured for her. Um, with them being on the rocks, Nehemiah was kind of nervous at the possibility of going against CT because the last time we saw Nehemiah on an actual challenge season, he lost to TC on Rivals, and he's like, "Damn, that man beat me. I don't know how this gonna go with us at this point in time." But he was very nervous about that possibility of seeing him again in Nation because of what happened last time. Um, but Tina and TT also really didn't care who they were going to go against. It was just putting it all in Kylan and Olivia's hands to figure out of Era 2 and 3 to go into Nation. And TT was like, I don't want to leave, but I want Era 1 to succeed. And that's all you can ask for. Like, he's being a team player and putting himself on the line and being a target. He's stuck in the nation right now, but he's going to give it his best shot and still try and keep Era 1 afloat.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can do. I mean, I really don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah. And another person that was also trying to make deals of sorts was Cory, because Cory and Nehemiah were having a chat. I don't know if they have a deal of sorts going on as well, but Cory, he knows he don't got numbers on his team because Jordan, Tori, and Devin are a trio of sorts, a weird trio, but I might add. But when he said like, "Oh, it's them that's like have the reins," I'm like, "Duh, doofus! You could have had more leverage on your team if you could have kept Leroy, Amanda. Amanda had your back. She would have caused chaos for your team a little bit, but she would have had your back. But now you're in this position where you're in the minority on your team to have a sway in decisions, and that's just consequences of your actions in the game."
This is why I don't even root for Corey in any way because he comes with this dumbass idea of I need to leverage this and do this and make relationships, and the relationships that you did have, you ruined. So it's like I can't with Cory and his political game on this challenge. Like, good luck, God bless. I don't really have much for him because it really didn't make any sense for him now to have to fight to have a relationship with Nehemiah. You had relationships with people who literally wanted to have your back, and you decided to just kick them in the back. So that's your decision. Really have nothing else for you.
Yep. And we go straight to the chamber chat with everybody who was on the block. Olivia and Kylan kind of made known that there were deals being made, and um, Nehemiah called out the Vacation Alliance, and like you mentioned earlier, this is where Nehemiah basically put his foot in his mouth, and Devin basically like laid waste of like what Nehemiah was saying in their conversation, and Emily was like, "I was not there." Nehemiah went into business for himself, and like we said, that backfired. And didn't really help his case to not go into elimination.
And neither did that do rag because Nehemiah, you have no waves. Like, why do you have a do rag on? Like, what was that? That threw me. That actually was the episode for me because that literally threw me for a loop. Like, why do you have a do rag on, bro? You have no waves. You have nothing going on up there but the naps on your head. Why do you have a do rag on? You and Theo, actually, y'all threw me for a loop this episode. That was the episode for me. Forget Laurel and Cara in that fake ass argument. Nehemiah and Theo having a do rag on. What was up with that?
I have no answer to that question because, but why do they both have hair and they don't need a do rag because they both have hair?
It's not the fact that you have hair, it's the fact that your hair does not wave and doesn't do anything. So I would get if you had a low cut Caesar, you're trying to keep your waves intact. I would get that. If you had braids, trying to keep your hair down, cool. But just having a silky on just because you have a silky on, it whatever.
That's I was gonna say something controversial, but never mind. I'm gonna keep it to myself. Um, Moving on. It was funny though when Nehemiah did try and shush Devin. I'm like, I've never seen a man try and shush another man like that. Because Nehemiah could not get an actual word out like properly and like help himself. But when he tried to shush Devin, I was like, I that kind of got me like laughing a little bit too. I'm like, you don't have nothing else to say? You're just gonna shush him?
I mean, I don't know. Like, you know how I feel about Nehemiah, so like I don't even care for him. I just this whole argument, he caught it on himself. Like I can't even try to defend you. Like, you put this on yourself, and then on top of that, because what he's saying is true, you're trying to shush him. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
He should have asked Wes for more advice before he got on the show on how to navigate with Devin. So why, of all people, in the first place, why are you trying to make a deal with Devin? And that's your bestie's not arch rival, but like mini me that is trying to beat him. Like you can't just do that because that's weird. You could have made it another. You could have helped your case with other people who were not also going into a nation that have friends in other people on other teams that they can vibe with. Because now you made your case, which is bad. Olivia and Kylan are looking at you like, I believe Devin more. We're gonna not say Devin's name because they are part of the group of sorts and they're gonna help us out. Cool. Nehemiah has nothing to offer Olivia and Kylan at the end of the day. So that whole conversation just not did not work for him. Um Emily did run back to Rachel and say that Devin really is like the ringleader of sorts of like rallying around like era 3 and era 4. That conversation really activated Rachel to try and lock in to take the reins of the house and figure out how to make moves to get that man out of here. And I would love to see it because I'm like, Rachel hasn't been done a lot thus far this season, but with her and Tina being the only woman on Era 1 left, they have to try and make moves so that Era 1 is not in the blender. And trying to turn a tide on Era 3 and Era 4 could work. We'll see if it happens, though.
I mean, I'm all here for Rachel not liking Devin. It's great. That's it.
An elite employee. I love it. Like when both her and Tina got activated, like, y'all are elite employees. I love y'all for going against that man because he don't need all that power because he's not gonna do nothing of substance for it. He's just gonna keep his friends safe and just be there, vibing, chilling, hanging out with Michele, yapping, and macking. That's it. And Michele, speaking of, had a conversation with Laurel because she was trying to find common ground of Laurel, even after what happened on Ride or Dies. And I'm like, girl, why are you trying to go at this lady about this? Like, just let bygones be bygones. You don't gotta like that lady. You don't have to talk to that lady. Why are you trying to be friends with her if that lady don't like you and it's one sided? Because that's not gonna help you in the long run of this game. It really isn't.
All right, Michele, we don't even care about you. I don't know why you keep trying to make fetch happen with in terms of Laurel. Like this absolutely makes no sense, and you keep trying to imply like I'm not trying to make this work. Yes, you are. It's clear that you keep trying to make a connection with Laurel. You do not have to connect with everyone that's in the house with you, and especially someone that you already threw in. Uh, your receding hairline homeboy fucked up the relationship that he had with Jax in that season. And then now you on top of that keep trying to double down on hanging out with Laurel. And we don't care. Like, stop trying to make that happen. Now, Laurel rightfully so was like, girl, I really don't have nothing for you. I don't care about this. Like, it is what it is. And this is where we get into Cara and Laurel. And for me, I will say, Cara, you could have just stayed your ass out of the room. You didn't have to come in and try to be like, oh, I'll be friends with you, Michele. He. Like, really didn't have to do anything with anything. And for me, I just did not even care for that moment because you knew what you were doing. Like, yes, Laurel is intimidating, and clearly Michele was trying to hold her own and she really couldn't. So you decided to step in. I don't see how she sees the same Michele as she does with herself. Like, for me, Michele has come from a different game and she literally plays Survivor on these shows. And that's how I see Michele. I don't see Michele and Cara in the same boat, way, shape, or form at all. But Cara, it was unnecessary for you to come in and say anything to Michele or even try to have that moment to lighten the mood or try to make Michele feel better. You could have took Michele and went to the other room and been like, you know what, fuck her. Like, I'm gonna be cool with you. I would have appreciated that more than you coming in the room and trying to have that lighthearted moment because then that turns into passive aggressive, you trying to make a moment out of yourself. And now you're the victim again. And this is why I did not respect Cara in the first place when she was playing all them seasons. Like this is some kind of, I don't know, like fucked up mental move that she trying to make. But girl, it was not necessary for you to come in the room. Laurel basically looked at her and was like, "Ho, is you cool?" And she said, "No, I'm not." Like, you bullying Darrell, Michele, this person, that person. Like, no, I'm not cool. And then her and Laurel get into it. And for the most part, I would say I was on Laurel's side of this argument. Like, I know Laurel is miserable. She's insecure. And to Cara's credit, she did say it correctly when she was having a conversation with Emily. Like, she's insecure. She doesn't feel the best about herself. Like, she's not in the best mental space about herself, and you can tell. So when she argues with people or she picks on someone or she has that moment where she's trying to get aggressive, you can see that coming out of Laurel. And I completely, like, I'm here for that assessment from Cara. But the whole now to turn around and have that moment and asking her, is she okay? Or when Laurel asks basically, and they have another argument, I'm like, and then what really ticked me off with the whole argument was Cara being like, "I'm not scared of you." I hate when people say that in arguments because no one asks you if you're scared. Like if you're arguing with someone and the first thing you come up and say is I'm not scared of you, I'm thinking you're scared. I'm thinking you're pussy. And especially with someone with Cara's background and being a victim and not trying to have situations with people and trying to not be confrontational, like, girl, in the words of 50 Cent, I smell pussy. Like that's crazy to me. Why would you even tell that girl like, yo, I'm not scared of you? I'm like, girl, wrap this up. Dye your hair in the room and have your little moment and keep that pushing. I cannot respect the whole Laurel thing. Laurel was right in this scenario, which is crazy to me because I want us to be like, damn, Laurel really going in this season. Da, da, da. Nah, she was valid, which is crazy.
Yeah, in this situation, when you look at it from like the first scene of Michele, I get Laurel's play. It just went very left field, and I'm like, it went to a place it didn't need to, even but like at the end of it when everybody else started coming in the room. Because other things were being said that we didn't see that made everybody else run up in there and try and see what's happening or try to diffuse it. And it's like, what the ever effing is going on? Because I get y'all have this like this weird sibling sister ish dynamic that is very toxic, but it's not helping neither of y'all. Cara did not need to insert herself like into this, and this led to this. And I'm like, I don't like it. But the way also the edit was for this, there's more things that weren't shown that we didn't see that really more activated Laurel and activated Cara to try and like yell at her back. And I'm like, I don't like this was very botched, and I'm like, this should not have happened this way. We could have just kept it cute, kept it on the playground, but with these two, it's never gonna happen. Like these two should not be at this point should not be on a season together anymore because it's gonna get volatile real quick. Like it was fine before. It could have been left at what happened with Michele. That could have been done and over. But it escalating to that point where security didn't have to step in. I'm like, y'all know better. Like this is not a good look on both of y'all because I get Laurel like, hey, she got in my business, but she didn't have to go low in the part that we didn't have to see. So then, good luck,
And
good
then we
riddance.
don't see it. I that's also another part that I'm just like I don't care to have to now keep going back and forth to try to figure out what was said and why this person was crying and everyone in the room with her. It's just like I like why don't y'all just show what happened instead of having us fill in the blanks and try to get secondhand accounts after the fact. Just show what happened.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that because like why are you showing us a video of what happened on Rivals One? The only time Laurel even like helped that lady when like the conversation wasn't even about that because Cara said it in her IG, like the TikTok video, that what was said wasn't even about that Rivals woman. It was about something else that was very traumatic for her. And if production wanted to put that fight in, they could have kept it on wax and put everything in there and did something after. But it was just a bad look for me. Like as someone who is on social media and seeing like the other accounts, I'm like, well, damn. Like if everybody in the house is seeing what we didn't see, and they're coming on saying it, like, why couldn't we see a better glimpse of it and not it being that watered down and edited out? Because it it was a little bit here like up and forth. So I'm like, I don't like that. But at the end of the day, we don't get more of this toxic sistership of sorts. Granted, Laurel says she had no respect for Cara, and I'm like, bro, what is this relationship at all at this point? Y'all just keep going back into forth at one another, and it's not helping us. And I got people like, oh, Laurel's bringing real reality TV back. Is it real reality TV or is it just someone that needs to not be on TV and work on themselves? The latter.
Why can it be both? I mean,
It could. Let's have more tact about it, you know? That's it. Um, but that's done. We're gonna leave that because I know at another point in the season we're gonna see another fight. So we gonna nip that in the bud right there. We go to the arena. And CT and Tina are waiting on their opponents, and Kyle and Olivia mentioned that it's gonna be um a decision made by Era 4, which they all decided that it was Nehemiah and Emily. Of course, because Era 4 is in bed with Era 3, so they're gonna not say Devin and Tori. So we all knew that. And they are playing a game called Getting Hammered, where at each station players have to remove nails from a wall and then recreate the nails and put over 100 nails on the other wall. And the first person who finishes, they will win and stay in the game. And Tina is a housewife, a woman of in the house, and she knows how to work nails and hammers and do web work. This was up her wheelhouse. Um, and she really killed it in this animation. So big. This is really, like I said, this is Tina's moment. This is her time. It's her episode. She killed it.
For sure. I mean, from the way that she decided to start taking those nails down and really made it look super easy. And Emily thought she can do the same thing. Even CT came and tried to follow up and tried to do the same thing. And really, no one had the same like strength or energy that she did towards these nails. And so Tina came in, did what she needed to do. I mean, she really beasted it. And I thought that it would have been a fair fight at least, just because Emily, is strong. She can do this. And I feel like it was just like a fair level of this elimination to begin with. But Tina came in and just really started shredding and ripping down all of those nails. I was like, all right, this may be over quickly. And you saw how Emily was struggling. People were trying to help Emily. She really got it together towards the end and got her groove in terms of using the hammer and actually pulling them out to, help her. But yeah, Tina was far and ahead above um, Emily. And when it came to it, I mean, they were neck and neck after a while. Um, but you saw that Tina had the lead, and Tina was able to hit the buzzer, and she hit it twice. And Tina won that round. And I was like, you know what? I'm not mad at it at all. Like, go ahead, Tina, do your thing. This was her moment for sure.
Yep, and this gave Emily her first challenge loss. I went back and actually was like, damn, this really was her first and only elimination loss, because now she's 5-1 eliminations. Like, damn. For it to come from Tina, that's big props to Tina for really killing it. Like, she was really engaged in it. And Emily just fell up short, but props to Emily for a good showing this season so far. Brad's little cuddle buddy is gone, but Tina is still here and alive and kicking. And CT and Nehemiah, this is their rematch, like you mentioned before. Like, they had elimination. CT bested Nehemiah. This time around, Nehemiah got the better of CT, because CT thought he could kind of do the same thing that Tina did, but it didn't work at as much. He struggled to start off, um, while Nehemiah was being meticulous with how he was taking down the nails. And while he was doing that, he was still being fast, but CT was like all brash, but they all weren't coming off at points. But they were also very neck and neck as well once they got to that second wall. Um, but Nehemiah was just nails ahead and got the win over CT.
Yeah, I mean, it was close up until it wasn't close. Really, you saw it towards the end of, how much of a gap that it was between Nehemiah and CT. But up until a certain point, it did look close. Like they finished at the same time and getting the nails out. So kind of was just like crossing my fingers and hoping that CT would pull it off, but he didn't. And honestly, I mean, it is a blow to just the show in general because CT being on this season, on this, show, I mean, it's what we all want to see. And especially, getting towards the end or to a final, like everyone's always so scared of CT. And even in this shape and how he is now, like no one probably would want to go against CT when it comes to individually. So I'm actually just surprised that Nehemiah was able to pull it off, but congratulations to him. I'm glad he got that off of his back and on his challenge career belt. He felt as if though this put him in a ranking. I don't really think it does because we did see how Jay beat CT and then came right back and literally obliterated him. So Nehemiah, best of luck if you see CT again and he's in shape, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the same result. But congratulations to Nehemiah for winning. And now we have Nehemiah and Tina picking targets. Era one completely obliterated in terms of having no one. Like, it's only Rachel and Tina left. So, and Brad nominating, it's like, dude, who else is gonna go? Like, it's only you left, boo. So Brad being nominated, Rachel being nominated, not surprising. I will say Laurel getting chosen. I was actually surprised because Aviv, mind you, she's still on the show. We haven't heard from Shorty in the past 3 episodes, but
I forgot she was
she's
there.
yeah, she's still on
I
the
forgot.
show. Um, which is why it's also crazy that Laurel tried to throw a challenge when it's like you literally have 4 women still on your team. Like, you have yourself, Cara, you had Emily and Aviv. You had a lot of people still left in your team. I'm not sure why you're trying to throw a challenge, but whatever, sis. That's why you're getting thrown in for a second time as a target. Her and Bananas get thrown in once again. Not surprising. And I'm glad that you can repeat people. It doesn't have to be like this. Everyone has to get picked before someone else gets targeted. Like, no, we gonna keep just keep shooting at you and hoping that we don't miss. So Bananas and Laurel get chosen. And then we get to era 3, and Jonna acting like she don't know what the hell is going on. She don't know if she wanted to say anything or not. Girl, you're the only one left who did not get chosen, and because they really didn't have any smoke for Avery and Naya, you were next, boo. So Tori handed her right over that little sleeve that they be wearing for the targets and was like, "Here, boo, take this." And that was it. Jonna gets chosen, and we leave that at that. And we get era 4 where
Oh wait, also Cory. Cory volunteered.
so like so is what I have to say. Anyway, we get to era 4. Era 4 has to get chosen. Josh finally decides to step up because clearly CT is going home. So now you can volunteer yourself to get chosen. Josh volunteers himself to go in, and then Jenny just gets thrown another hook because we don't know Shorty. Like, you just came over the border. We don't even know you like that. So Jenny gets thrown in again, and that is the targets. And I'm not mad at any of them getting chosen again, except for I think Michele could have gotten chosen, but we'll see how that plays out itself as we keep going with the targets thing. But for Laurel and Bananas to get chosen again, both as targets, I'm completely here for it.
Because everybody else on Era 2, they don't really care for her. Like, they're not threats. They're, aside from Cara, but like, Cara's like, everybody loves Cara in the house for the most part. Everybody, it seems, is against Laurel, except for Kyle and Theo, who were comforting her. But no one else on Era 2 is really gonna get smoked from everybody else in the house. It's also funny too because Jenny got picked by Nehemiah because Jenny picked Nehemiah. So that's his get back to Jenny from the last episode. So I don't know why Jenny's like up in arms like that she got picked again. Man, you literally picked that man to be a target. So that's on you, mama. That's on you. Um and yeah, after that, CT and Emily did pick cast their karma points to players. CT gave his baby sis Cara 5 points, and then with the rest of the points, it was just like maybe threes or twos. Somebody got a 1. I think that was Laurel from Emily, but that was how the episode ended. Not too bad aside from these fights. The best fight of the night was Tina and CT. That's my favorite fight from this episode. If we're grading the fights.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely up there.
And so now we're gonna get into some of the tweets from this episode. The first one comes from Tina herself. At Theo Campbell 91 can't see shit anyways, so his eyewitness testimony is questionable. Hashtag Tina's thoughts. Because they were going back and forth on Twitter, but also the way that it kind of was, it's like, it is funny seeing Tina subtweet someone quoted saying, Dio desperately wants to be in a Bible season with you. He saw that you were a beast, and that's what prompted that Tina tweet. And I'm like, this is the most randomest back and forth I've seen on Twitter.
I'm glad you've seen it because I didn't. So I have no thoughts.
um, The next tweet is, not going to lie, I got a chuckle of Laurel taking great offense to Nehemiah nominating her as the target and calling him a bad game player. She literally threw the daily challenge that led to him having to face CT in elimination. Because what you thought this was? Like, you did that. He was the one that was a target. He had to go elimination. So, how you like those apples?
I don't.
You don't. Of course, Laura don't either.
You asked. What do you want me to say?
Okay, it wasn't towards you. It was to Laurel, okay? Because Laurel acted like very annoyed. I'm like, you did that to yourself. You the one that stood there at Summer Walker at the award show and did nothing. That man was the target. He was going to the nation, not you. So good luck, Chuck. The next tweet: all the girls consoling Cara, while Laurel has to run to Kylan and Theo for sympathy, tells me all I need to know about which of the two is the actual problem.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say something else. The last tweet. I love the unpredictability of the challenge when Tina, a wealthy housewife, defeated the undefeated CrossFit athlete Emily. Because who would have thought? Not I. But Tina had the mentality, she had the experience with this and the drive. She was able to get it done.
I mean, it definitely was a fair fight. I'm not gonna hold anything against Tina and say that I didn't think that she could do it, but you know, clearly she's in Home Depot all day long, so she ain't got nothing better to do. So might as well put it to use in this situation.
Yep, and those are all the tweets from this week's episode.
And that's the recap of episode 5, guys. You can check us out on Twitter if you would like at Duel Alliance Pod. You can check us out individually. You can follow Megan at Megs and Hines. You can follow myself at ace_s5. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can like, comment, and subscribe. And check us out. If you're listening to this podcast, you can watch us on YouTube at Duel Alliance Podcast. We'll be back next week to discuss more of season 40 of the challenge. Bye, guys.